This was a presentation that I put together last night after finding out, unfortunately, that Ryan couldn't speak. But these contain some thoughts that I've had on how life is sort of starting to turn and change, and how media is starting to sort of transform itself. I had the pleasure to be in Mount Tremblant last month with a bunch of bigwigs from a lot of media companies, talking about regulation and policy. It was hugely entertaining. I gave a presentation that was a little bit more sober than this one. This presentation is almost after I gave the presentation there and spoke to people and then reflected some more that I should have given to the people that run media in this country and beyond. It's a presentation about how the change is coming. We know how media sort of gained its momentum through the 20th century. Obviously, the coronation was one of the largest events on television after television was actually launched on the world. People bought televisions to actually watch the coronation. People huddled around. I think one of the biggest events after the coronation was an India versus Pakistan cricket match. But then it got super weird in the 80s. No one wanted to give MTV any go at trying to engage the kids. But the kids wanted it. And the advertisers got people like Sting and David Bowie and Mick Jagger and everyone to say, I want my MTV. And MTV went everywhere. And kind of MTV's not really anywhere at all anymore, right? And the reason for that is that in the early 90s through to 2000s, the internet started taking over the world. The internet is pipes underneath the ocean. About 6 companies own that opportunity to lay those pipes. It's kind of funny. Once in a while, Iceland will accidentally trawler up Greenland's internet and cut that off. They're not too happy about that at that point in time. But it's fascinating. I was actually just in the Cayman Islands about 3 weeks ago, and I wondered about the internet connectivity. We know the Cayman Islands. It's the Switzerland of the Caribbean, right? It's got so much internet connectivity, it's ridiculous. There are more cars than people. The road system's pretty good. There's still 4% unemployment. They don't do any agriculture. They don't do any renewable energy generation. They burn diesel for fuel, and they import everything. It's expensive as hell, and there's lots of people there with money. They've got a huge surplus. And it's kind of a super strange place. And they've literally paid for the internet to carry all of the banking data to and from that island, or set of islands. And then from the internet being laid, the next big change was obviously around social media. You know, if we... such a cherub. I'd almost like to see Mark Zuckerberg dressed as a cherub. It's become very, very fucked up over time. The Britain is now actually sending the Secret Service to intercept their lawyers at the airports to take various documents so that they can now take them to court even harder, and they're finding some fascinating things. But, you know, social media is endemic, it's absolutely everywhere, and fundamentally it's changed how we view the world. And then the iPhone came, and this is an iPhone 1, and this is kind of an amazing image. If you look really closely around the middle of this, kind of looks like Steve Jobs' face. This was actually found in Venezuela. Some people were saying it was a miracle. It dropped, I'm not even joking. I found this presentation there. So, you know, Steve Jobs' face. Can you see it? It's like, you know, it's gold. It's dark futures gold. But we're kind of at this point where the iPhone, no one believed that Apple could build a phone, and no one believed that the world could change. In 2007, he said, in my hand, I've got a phone, an internet communicator, and a music player. It's the iPhone. Everyone goes ballistic, and people like Steve Ballmer from Microsoft said, this is never going to get any market share. We're not in that game. Hands up, who's got a Microsoft phone in the room? Where's Andrew? No, I'm joking. And now we kind of got this point. So I don't know, let me decode. I couldn't get a really good image of this. Who knows Lang Lang? Yeah? Lang Lang, like one of the best, if not the best pianist in the world. Lang Lang, at a live performance, played The Flight of the Bumblebee on an iPad. So we've got a situation where the classical, cultural, musical landscape has been infiltrated by modern technology as a tool. Right? And he actually runs, he's got his own app and he runs courses and he's a fabulous guy. But this was really poignant for me. Again, Steve Jobs, super happy about that. Looking down on us, thank you. Imagine how many Chinese kids wanted to have an iPad after saying that. And none of them wanted to play the piano. Right. But we're kind of at this point. Jaron Lanier is a sort of a techno sage. He doesn't really call himself a futurist, but he writes a lot of very good books like Who Owns the Future and the such like. But he says that once we've got algorithms in our lives that come from social media and these tablets and devices, that suddenly we've got this massive deluge of content without anything that's really cultural. It's just context. It's just things and things and things and things and things, more things, and you can't stop like consuming it. Just like when you consume Netflix in a binge watching marathon. Who binge watches series when they come out? Yeah, I just binge watched The Last Kingdom. I've never watched Game of Thrones. So maybe that'll happen to me. You'll know when that happens because you won't see me for five or 6 weeks. But it's kind of interesting. We're at this point that these platforms, they don't care about the culture behind, anticipation, building story, building wonder, curiosity, just absolute content and context, no culture. And this is where we've led to. And I did a presentation last year on, the future of children and devices. Well, I went down to Google this year, and a good friend of mine hosted me down there at the Googleplex. And I spoke about how children and privacy and devices and platforms and multiple layers of technology are removing our rights to the privacy that we need in the world. And fundamentally, what we're having now is the big tech companies grooming our children to be future consumers and future consumers of their products. Hands up who's got an Amazon Alexa or a Google Home or anything at home. Yeah, there's quite a few people in the room. It's a terrible thing. Fundamentally, if you've got children, it's their new big sister or their new big brother. It doesn't need you as a parent anymore. You've now actually got versions of this coming out for kids, and they'll teach your kids manners. Why? Because at the age of 18, you'll be so used to interacting with them that they'll be like, oh, happy birthday, would you like me to send you an Amazon credit card? Yes. And we've set you up with an account. Thank you. What would you like to buy? Everything. Right? And it's really fascinating where we are in the world. We think that Netflix is a pretty impactful company. You wait until Disney Plus comes out next year. And Disney, I don't exactly know their business plans, but if I was Disney, I would remove every Disney movie off of every other platform. I would make you pay $15 to $20 a month. Your children will be absolutely addicted to those movies because they tell amazing stories, and your kids need to see Frozen. And they need to see all the other Disney movies. And then they'll be generating as many movies as they can from the kids themselves. This has just come out. This is the biggest earner on YouTube. He's 7 years old. His name is Ryan. He's bigger than the others, like Logan Paul or Jake Paul or PewDiePie or people that I spend time watching. And I sat down with my girlfriend last night and we're watching these, and it's like, what? This is like Disney's dream. The parents, super cheesy, kind of fun, play with their kid, and they create these scenarios, and they do unboxing. They unbox toys. And do you know who's watching that? The parents are sat down with their children watching YouTube. And what's happening? The kids are getting excited about the toys, and then they badger their parents and they want the toys. But more importantly is that they're getting used to the context and content without culture. It's not even like flicking through a Sears catalog or whatever catalog you used to flick through before Christmas, because that would sit in the corner over there. This guy's got dozens and dozens of videos, and there are hundreds of people trying to do exactly what he does, and they're dragging kids down into the corporate capitalist world, and fundamentally they're being brainwashed to get used to this new world. So I liken this to being like a battle between Hercules and the Hydra. And the Hydra is a seven-headed beast, but who is the Hydra and who is Hercules? Are we the parents? Are we the moral the moral justice? Are we trying to fight off the big tech companies? Or are the big tech companies, Hercules, just trying to really placate all of us because we've got wild abandon and they want us to literally calm down and not be so cultural? I actually think that the Hydra it's the platforms, it's the content, it's the people, it's the influencers, it's everyone. And I've got absolutely no idea who's being Hercules today at all. I talk a lot about how governments can combat technology, and we've seen this spoken about a lot this evening, and they've got absolutely no single idea how to do it. I stood up in front of an audience 3 weeks ago, and someone said, but what about technology moving faster than governments? And I said, that's because they've got more people, those people work harder, and I'm sorry, a lot of your government employees go home at 2 o'clock on a Friday. 3 ministers at the table in front of me were not happy at all. And I said, I know ministers work really hard. Anyway. And actually, I've now got a really good a relationship with one of the ministers. He'll remain completely anonymous. But that leads me to the idea of the human caterpillar. Has anyone seen the horror film, The Human Caterpillar? Oh, Human Centipede. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the Human Centipede, sorry, excuse me, I haven't actually seen the film, but the idea is that fundamentally this guy on the left has found 3 people and he's sewn their mouths to their assholes. Someone eats their shit, and someone eats their shit. The trouble is, in 2018, we don't know whose shit that we're eating, and we don't even know who the doctor is. But what's really interesting is that whatever shit is going through the system, everyone's eating some of it at some point in time. So the Hydra and Human Centipede, thank you for the correction there. I'm pretty sure I could work with a caterpillar as well. I'm going to try that maybe at the weekend. But, this is just a short presentation put together with a few rambling ideas, but we're kind of at the point of everything's going to be taken over by technology, but we're kind of the technology that's taking over ourselves. I mean, look at the 7-year-old, look at the other influencers, look at the people that are consuming all of their content with wild abandon. Life finds a way. We will find a way beyond this consumerism, as per what Christy said. We'll find a way beyond sort of this focus and influence into something that's more morality-based, like Vince was talking about. We'll try and get some equality in the world, as in what Rafiq was talking about with the 4th Industrial Revolution. That one's going to be one of the toughest things in the world. Trust me, people are starting to work for these FANG companies, and on their first day, they're being told that our next customers are the next 2 billion people that are coming online. And the next 2 billion people that are coming online are not really going to necessarily, do great and just things. They're literally going to eat the shit that we feed them. So we've got to stop producing the shit and start producing something that's useful. I don't know where we're going. I call this love and mayhem because I love the world. I love the people. I love kids. I love family units. I love all of you for being here. It's mayhem out there. And all we can do is every day stand up and say, you know what? We're not going to take this today. We're going to put down our devices and hopefully have more times like this where we can talk to each other. And at the end of this, Dark Futures 6, I'd like to invite you all to have a bit of a chat after this. We've got time here. Also, do fold your chairs up as you do stand up. That helps us out a great deal. Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you very much to Unbounce. They're an incredible sponsor. I'd like to thank all of you for coming and all of this energy that you've given me to do this more and more. Because every year I'm like, should I do it? And it's like, I have to do it. And I have to find people that talk about the dark futures. Thank you very much.